Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends, episode 398. Oh
Okay,
my goodness!
You stop
You know
it
what?
right there
No,
because
you know what?
you know what? The mask is one thing, but the cultural appropriation of stealing Count Chocula, we're going to get letters. We're going to get the equivalent of letters.
I'll try another one then. Okay, how about that?
No, it's all right. It's all. You know what? The damage is done. Let's just
It's
keep
kind of
rolling.
wrong too. I'm doing a vampire as a ghost, so it doesn't match anyway.
I
so
know. It's okay.
Thank you for your critique.
I'll
I'll try it again, Charlie.
I just keep rolling because I think we should leave this in. I like it. That's what I'm saying. I like it.
So folks, if you're here, just watch what's on the screen because you're going to love it. It's fantastic. It's well worth it. Yes. Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast. I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, joined by Charlie Carden. But before we go on, please follow our podcast on our Twitter and subscribe to our Secret Friends Unite network feed for all our podcasts. We've got the Holocron Chronicles, we've got the Code 47, we've got the Co-op Mode, and we've got Secret Friends Unite Prime. And then after you're done with that, go ahead and watch some entertaining videos like the one you're watching now. Go to YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and see the wonderful things you can expect in our episodes. It is a Halloween episode, so you might see some surprises this episode. And before we even go further, we're giving away a controller. It's custom to Secret Friends Unite and Co-op Mode for our episode 400 and Co-op Mode 100 celebration. So stay tuned for that. There'll be a posting about it, a visual of the controller, and we'll tell you how to get it in the socials. So with that, Charlie, how you doing?
I'm good. Hey, Todd, it's you. I thought I was talking to a vampire booberry.
You thought we had a special ghost host?
Oh, what's a Tim Conway? About $1.65?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm good. It's Saturday here in the Midwest, and Todd, maybe it's the same way where you are. 75 degrees on October 22nd. It's totally crazy.
It snowed here, Charlie, like last week.
I thought you like today. Yeah.
No, last week. It was like almost 80 today.
Well, in the crazy. UP in Michigan and, and the north, so like, Marquette and all that, all the way up there. Yes, like upwards of a foot of snow. What's going on? Good thing global warming is a myth. I'm so glad to report.
Exactly. Meanwhile, the Great Lakes have now drained. There's no water in them. So
exactly. Yes. All the fish going blah, 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 blah. It's terrible.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's spooky season, Charlie. This is the last week of Shocktober. This will be the last episode of October for the Secret Friends, or I call them the Scary Fiends Unite. So you're in for a ride. It's going to be very hollow. It's going to be very scary-tastic the whole episode, including probably the news stories. Some of those will scare you, along with what we've been watching. And then we've got Sleepaway Camp, a classic of sorts at the end. Can't wait to get spooky.
There's nothing certainly more classic, at least within the context of what I'm currently talking about, than the Mighty Thor issue number 398. This is from December of 1988. We've got Thor with the Warriors 3 plus Seth. And who's the dude with the wings?
Well, it's not even the Warriors 3. You've got Hogan from the Warriors 3. You've got the Warriors Black 1. Knight. You've got Black Knight behind them, a guy with wings, and a weird dude with the big head. I don't know who these people are.
I thought Seth was the guy in brown, but Seth is they're the soldiers that look like snake dudes. So the stunning secret of the prisoners. I thought my brain ran Black Pyramid together into the prisoners of the backyard. I'm like, whose backyard? who are they holding in the backyard? Because in this issue, you will learn the startling secret of Seth's new mysterious power. Like I said, who is Seth? Is Seth the guy in brown? Is he the winged guy? And art by Ron Friends, friend of the show, or at least I think it's him. It is RF, and probably Tom Morgan doing inks. So respect the art of those two guys.
Heck did the
DH Don Heck. How can they only have the little squirrely? Oh, that's Fred Hembrick with the little squirrely knees.
And Ralph Macchio took a break from acting to be the editor-in-chief at Marvel.
Not the same guy. But oh my goodness. Yeah, Todd, so you're a Thor guy. Were you reading Thor at this time?
I was not. I kind of stopped after the Walt Simonson run.
Right.
It got really weird, throwbacky. The stories just felt like it was like they were taking a weird step back, didn't have really any continuity to like what they were going to do next. We didn't get really good Thor comics again, and probably until the mid 90s, and they did some cool stuff. Once again, exploring Norse mythology. They brought in some cool creators, but man, this was a dark time for Thor.
It was just a very run of the mill kind of comic.
Almost as bad as Thor 2, the movie.
Oh my gosh. Well, you saw it was during this run. We've had a lot of these covers featured where it's like Spider-Man is in and they're fighting the mongoose or blah, 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 this thing and that thing. Though we did have in this run Cap when he first held the to Mjolnir. So that was pretty sweet. But still, anyway.
Charlie, guess who was in this? Ooh. A team that you will have no clue who they are. Earth Force, Earth Lord, Skyhawk, and Wind Warrior.
So is Wind Warrior the guy with the wing? No, Skyhawk. Okay, Skyhawk. But
Earth Lord is probably the big brown dude.
Okay, so the
guy in brown.
The other two were so insignificant that they just didn't even make the cover.
There's literally like 30 people in this comic, along with some antagonists. The antagonists were Demons of Death, Grog, Seth, and Loki. So whoever Grog. Seth is.
I get Seth is that now he was in the other episode issue I was talking about with the one with Cap and holding Mjolnir. That was on Hydra base. Seth was attacking because I recognized the soldiers. So this is a continuation of that story. Compelling and rich. Moving on.
We will never see these characters in the MCU, or maybe we will. I don't know.
Not a chance. But we know that maybe it won't be the MCU, but eventually our very own senior news correspondent, I'm talking about Madam Webb, will be joining on the silver screen. But before she does that, she's getting paid her nickels and dimes. That's right, 15 cents a week, to be our number one news reporter. So why don't we go see what's going on with her down the corner of Hollywood and Vine right now.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Well, Charlie, I did get some feedback. Madam Webb did fully come forward and say Seth is actually one of her ex-boyfriends.
Oh, I knew it.
She didn't want to admit it because, like, it's kind of like the shameful one. Oh, I don't want to admit it. Madam Webb came forward. It's fine, Madam Webb. We don't judge. Whatever makes you happy. I don't know what Seth's up to. He's probably working at a IKEA in West Chicago.
The heart wants what it wants, and that's really it's the best you can do.
Or Walmart.
What was it that Christopher Cross said? Sometimes the best that you can do is fall in love. I know I feel like I should be on the radio, but that's okay. All right, what do we got up first from the good folks at MSN?
MSN, yes. The Microsoft News Network, I think. They no longer are tied to that, but that used to be the old thing. But we have apparently getting a report, because we've heard Nova is finally going to join the MCU. We weren't sure how they're going to do this. He's essentially become part of the younger Young Avengers, or whatever we call them, the Champions or whatever, which is great. I think it's a great mix. Essentially, Richard Rider was the original Nova, but there's been other Novas throughout time. It's kind of cool. I love it how they keep the heritage character alive, but then bring in new characters. So essentially, they're thinking, though, it's going to be more along the lines of a special, which we got with Werewolf by Night.
Which I love. That's a great format. I mean, you and I have both kind of expounded upon, like, Moon Knight, it was too long. This thing or that thing, it was too much. There was, or even over on, also on Disney Plus, but packing in like the Star Wars, like Boba Fett. Oh God, that was grueling. You know what I mean? So, so having these little one shots is great, just like they tend to do it in the comics with maybe it's a 5-issue arc, or it's a 5-issue limited series, or maybe it's 9 issues because it got canceled. The first two being at least in my opinion, preferable. So this is great, and this is not the first one of these that I've heard is going on. But anyway, please.
Yes, and I think it's great because it's really cool because introduce the character doing something iconic or unique about what makes him or her, and you don't have to give their whole backstory. Just show us.
Have a story.
maybe give them their background in a later story or whatever, but just introduce them doing cool things. And it's enough to just get you interested in the character. So when they pop up again, you're like, oh, I know that dude, or I know that lady, or I know that villain. That's kind of fun. And then expound upon it. I think that would have been more effective with Moon Knight. I think a lot of people said Moon Knight's didn't need that much. And then they kind of lost interest. Nobody's talking about Moon Knight right now. So that's like,
I mean, like I said, I was telling you that for a while I had started and then I got distracted. It's a jingling keys. I got distracted because there's too much content.
Mm-hmm.
I had watched WandaVision again. I had watched What If again. But I barely given either one of those any thought for over the year and a half, or a year and a half in between those have been on, because there's just so much other content blasting down. So once it's over, I'm not like, oh my God, Moon Knight is all I can think about, or Hawkeye is all I can think about, because it's here and it's gone. So having something that's standalone, like The Werewolf by Night, which was just, it was exactly like 60 minutes. So it wasn't really feature length, but it's something that just like, oh man, I'm going to slap that on and maybe I will, because I told you after this, April and I are trying to go through a Halloween movie list. So we picked The Blair Witch Project to watch tonight, but we'd watched several, but maybe this goes on that list, you know what I mean? Because it's got a nice Halloween vibe, The Werewolf, because it'll sensibly kind of,
it's an easy recommendation for everybody to see something spooky that's not too scary.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you're right. The violence it's not so over the top. So it's good stuff. This is cool. I like this. Do we know? Is this just breaking so we don't know?
It's just very, it's just, this is on the tip of people's tongues right now. Now, Nova, I don't know if he's specifically tied to any one part of the Marvel universe. Like, I know he's a cosmic galactic character, but which means he potentially could show up in Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe Miss Marvel's, the Marvels movie.
Right.
But, the Fantastic Four kind of dips their toe into the fantastic.
Both the outerverse and the innerverse with the negatives.
Yeah. So I don't know, Charlie. I don't know where maybe he could have this like pop up in one of those movies after this one shot, and then we that's kind of cool. I mean, it's limitless.
Especially Richard Rider, the classic character. He was from Xandar. We know that was a big part of Guardians 1. We also know that Xandar was all but wiped out by Thanos just before the Infinity War. So what if this has something to do with that society coming back or something like that? Like I'm not so steeped in the character that I would be able to say with absolute certainty exactly where they're going to plug him in. Also, they have, is it Sam Alexander is the younger incarnation of the character? So could go.
Which was a good comic. I'd highly recommend people read that comic. It's newer and it's really well told.
Yeah, was it the Champions was that group of younger characters, and I know I read that it was him and Kamala
Miles
Khan
Morales.
Miles Morales, exactly. So
and a few others. Was it Kate Bishop? Was she one of them? I can't remember.
You got it. That was probably 6 or 7 years ago that comic was out. So I'm just
Amadeus Cho, I think, was the Hulk. Playing the Hulk at the time. Yeah,
yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Which I don't even know what he's up to these days, because I don't think he's a Hulk anymore. So it's
right.
All over.
It comes and goes. So anyway, early news, and I'm sure we will learn more about it as time goes on. But Todd, this next one, if I'm reading the flow correctly, this is More Than Meets the Pete. What do we got?
So we've got this Transformers Rise of the Beast movie that we know nothing about. And this is going to be, it's kind of unclear whether this is part of the original, Michael Bay Transformers thing. Is it part of the Bumblebee movie where they kind of rejiggered everything and made it actually a decent Transformers film? Not really sure, but we are hearing more about who is going to be in this. So this is directed by Steve Cable Jr., who did The Land and Creed 2. So a good director, I assume, because you liked Creed. So Creed 2, so good. And then we've got some people that are going to be voicing some characters. So these are going to be not appearing as people, but as Transformers. And this is live action. Pete Davidson will portray the Autobot Porsche, which isn't a real one. Porsche Mirage. Sorry.
Oh,
Porsche.
I was going to say the Porsche was Jazz, as I recall.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Mirage was like an Indy car. So they're mixing some things around.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm not going to get tied up oh my God, they didn't get it right. Jazz is Scatman Carruthers, and we all know that.
Right. Yes. Yeah. There you go. That's what you
can't recast him. You can't recast the Jazz Man.
Well, they don't have his voice stored somewhere, so they can't do like a Darth Vader or that deal. So
Exactly. Then we've got Michelle Yeoh portraying Airazor, who was a female like Maximal. She turned into like a like an eagle, I think. Very cool character. Yeah, so that's really cool. And this is great because I don't know how Pete Davidson's going to be goofy and weird. I don't know if he can do anything but. So I guess this will be a goofy Transformer. Maybe he'll be the comic relief.
I guess you haven't seen the King of Manhattan or whatever it is, that Sirius thing. You didn't know. I'm just kidding. It's not like he's going to pull Sirius off and have it really work out. So. Did
he have like an Australian accent or a?
Yes, that's exactly what he had.
Indubitably.
Point of order. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So this is pretty cool. I mean, it's nice. I don't know about you, Charlie, where your stance is on voice actors. I prefer like real voice actors versus like celebrities showing up where it's like, okay, I can tell that's Sylvester Stallone doing a voice. It kind of distracts me.
Well, I agree. And, when you think of some of the big voice actors like Fred Tatasciore, who was Bender in Futurama. He's Shax in Star Trek Lower Decks, and he's great. But you're right. He's a voice actor. They're kind of the jack of all trades. Think about Mel Blanc, right? Think about Mel Blanc versus Dwayne Johnson. Are there voice actor? And again, we talked about the Mario Brothers movie coming up, and obviously Chris Pratt is Mario in that. Is that its own version of stunt casting? Do they just do that? Like, we got to get some notoriety for our thing, so we got to suck them in. We saw that really didn't work with the Super Pets movie because it was I was going to say Chris Rock. It was The Rock, and today is Chris Rock, which is Kevin Hart. Yeah, and you're right. I just don't buy it. But I mean, if you think about really classy, awesome, like Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka, Grey DeLisi as someone she was Ventress, and she's been tons of other characters and other things.
There's a lot of even video games where you got voice actors. There's a lot of great talent there too. And I remember the funny one was one of the main actors who played in Metal Gear Solid, a character actor, David Hayter, who's actually a scriptwriter too, was replaced by Kiefer Sutherland in the 5th game. I'm like,
it doesn't fly because it feels like I think it's what's akin to like sweeps week stunt casting that they did back in the old days. If you're not familiar,
Friends would bring on like a character, like the big actor of the week.
You'd have Renee Zellweger, who they brought on as Rachel's sister. It was Reese Witherspoon.
Yes.
So it'd be like a Reese Witherspoon. Or they have like Voyager. They had the Year of Hell where the ship got all blown up and whatever it is. And how are they going to survive? So it's just, yes, in the old days, for anyone who's not acquainted, when the ratings device was a Nielsen box that sat on top of your TV and recorded what you watched, networks in May and then in November, September would have periods where it was like a count day at school where they would really intensely try to hype up the show that you're watching to make sure you tuned in. So it would be a very special episode. It would be a very, stupid guest star, Cousin Oliver. I don't know, whatever it is. But yeah, that's what putting a well-known face actor in a voice actor component feels like to me. Just kind of based on what we're talking about. So yeah, I don't really see this as kind of a big plus. But again, I mean, I have no skin in the game with Transformer stuff just because I know that is your special deal, but I think about those Bayformer movies, and I just really can't get past it.
I can't either, Charlie. That's my problem. Exactly. And everybody who says they really liked them, like, I think you're overcompensating because, and you know what? I'm not one to say like canon for the Transformers because the cartoon, there's been comics, there's been video games. It's like, I don't know. I just know when something's decent and when something's bad. And just make it decent.
And it's kind of my thought about those Kelvin versus those JJ Star Trek films. When people tell me they like them, I don't want to be that guy. Like I almost got into a dust up with somebody on SFU maybe a year ago. I won't drop any names about somebody who really liked it. And I'm like, you do you. She's like, well, that's basically saying that you think it's trash. And I'm like, I don't really have a response to that. I might think it's trash, but that doesn't mean that you don't enjoy it. But to your point, I don't get how somebody could think that, Star Trek Into Darkness, or as my co-host Peter over on Code 47 would call it, Into Dumbness. I don't understand how anybody could like it. We're having a teardown of those.
No, that movie was not good, and I don't know. It was like they were phoning it in, playing off all of the. Well, we've talked about that. So
right,
but
what I was going to say is, if you really want to hear our thoughts on that, we are doing a teardown of that in several weeks over on Code 47. Katie and Peter, myself. That's my plug.
Yeah, Beast Wars, though, is the show I really that re-engaged my interest in Transformers because it was CG at a time when CG was just at its birth. They actually told a cohesive story with decent voice acting. And so the fact that they're bringing in the whole premise was if the Ark landed on the Earth in prehistoric times, there was no cars. So they had to scan something, and they scanned essentially like life forms, which were dinosaurs and other creatures and things like that, which obviously doesn't make sense because dinosaurs and apes were in at the same time. Doesn't matter. Don't put your brain on it. But there were no humans either because there was no humans at the time. So I thought it was cool. And I like that era, but I know a lot of people saying that's blasphemy. And I'm like, that's fine. You do you.
That's all right. Okay, moving on. Here is a rumor. I think I probably posted something about this earlier, and I kind of dance around because we don't have like great sources for this kind of stuff because it's like so-and-so had a meeting, da-da-da-da-da. But yeah, the current gristmills going on is that Adam Driver, of course, Kylo Ren from the Star Wars sequels, has met with Marvel about being in the Fantastic Four movie, and chins are wagging, and fans are saying that Doctor Doom would be an amazing choice, and I couldn't agree more. I think he'd be great. But again, these articles were like, fans say blah, 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 or an actor says he'd love to do this and that. I'm like, that's not really news. I mean, what's news is that if he is legitimately having meetings, so really if we're reporting the true news, that is he is in meetings for an undisclosed role with Marvel executives. But since everybody likes to speculate, he'd be amazing as Doctor Doom because, frankly, I thought Kylo Ren had some depth to him as a villain who had a redemption arc, turned around, and in the end, I thought things turned out, and ended up sacrificing himself. So and again, I respect Adam Driver as an actor because I've seen him in some of the other things. So what do you think? Would you put him behind the mask, or is he too pretty behind the mask? He should be Reed Richards.
I don't think he's too pretty. That's the thing. He's an odd looking dude, but he's very talented. Big time, he's very funny. He's not afraid to take and he's been playing a lot of really niche and character actor roles. Like, that I haven't seen it. I know you saw the what was it, the weird movie with the fashion
Gucci. The Gucci,
Gucci. And he was like, Gucci. And everybody was just trying to overact themselves and do bad accents. It's like that's what Mario's voice should have been, Charlie.
Oh yeah, it should have been. He should have been. Who the hell? He should have been Jared Leto.
Jared Leto. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Should have been like, oh my God, what's going on? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he's not afraid to take like be in franchises. He's not afraid to take like little roles and do that. Right. So I think it's cool. And why not get a good actor? And I don't think he's afraid to say, I would like to do that and make money and have a good time.
Right. And could be very good at it again. He's in bed with the Disney people, which is all fine and dandy. And this is to be the Fantastic Four's big redemption story. They've never had anything successful on the big screen. We've talked about it ad nauseum. I will certainly never let Todd forget that I took one for the team, and I saw Fantastic Four in 2015. And before I saw Sleepaway Camp this week, it was potentially the worst thing I'd ever seen. But but there's always something else. So I
may have to watch one of these. Just say like, what the hell was this thing?
I know. Yeah. I don't know. I totally get it. So
I'm never that bored, apparently.
No, I mean, that's just the thing. We live in, the content oasis of which there's always something else to see. So anyway, okay, on to a trailer. And Todd, you reminded me in the B-roll that you've never seen any of these movies, but no. I think you're missing out. This is not going to be the third film in the Creed saga, which is a spinoff of the Rocky films, which I've always loved the Rocky films. You can take it or leave it. The first one, they were kind of odd-ish, even-ish, because the first one was great, second one was bad, the third one had Mr. T, the fourth one had, Drago the Russian. Okay, so the fifth one was kind of a little bit more of a
Tommy Gunn, right?
Yeah, it was kind of more of a deep dive emotionally.
Didn't he get like HIV too? Like the actor
Tommy Gunn? I have absolutely no idea.
There's something weird about that.
I think that happened too. Well, what's sad is that the kid who played Rocky's son in life was his real son and then passed away a number of years ago under somewhat auspicious circumstances. And his son was replaced by Milo Ventimiglia.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And when they made a sixth one called Rocky Balboa, which was in 2005 or so, then it spun into Creed. Creed is played by Michael B. Jordan. He is the illegitimate son of Apollo Creed, who died in the fourth film in the ring with Drago. Rocky kicked it off in the first film. I believe he was in the second one as well. Drago came back in the second film, and then, of course, his son was a boxer, and the two of them fought. And then this third film, he's squaring off against Kang the Conqueror. Oh, my God. Yeah, it's Jonathan Majors is his name. Ripped as shit.
Holy
oh, my God.
Crumbs. I don't think he could add any more muscle on his body.
He'd
explode.
He's tacking it on. So, yeah, the story that we're told in this trailer is that much like we see Rocky and Rocky 4, he's living a great life. You know, he's married, has a kid. His wife is Tessa Thompson, by the way, who's a musician in the film. Just like in Rocky 4, like I said, Rocky's making the big money. Everything's great. But then, you know, this thing comes up that's going to rock his world. It turns out it's a childhood friend of his who's been in jail for 20 years for a juvenile crime they were both involved in. But obviously, Kang took the fall. And, that's an age-old trope. That pops up in a lot of stuff. But whatever. And then, much like in Rocky 5, Creed takes Kang, I'm just going to call him Kang, takes him back under his wing, helps him get back on his feet, but finds out that, he's really ripped and a boxer, but he's just so angry. He's got this terrible.
That's what you do in jail, Charlie, right? You train and you box.
You box and you're angry, I would imagine.
Or you get a degree.
Or you get a degree, exactly. Yeah. So it spins off into what you would expect, which Kang and Creed end up in the ring together. That's where it's headed. Said that this is directed by Michael B. Jordan. I think that's pretty amazing. So he's doing.
Yeah, I didn't know he was interested in doing that.
Yeah, he's doing the Kevin Smith. Hopefully, it won't turn out like that.
I'm sure it'll be lots of fart jokes and
yes, Dick Whedon fart jokes. Count on it.
Exactly.
But yeah, Todd. So I'm gonna throw the gauntlet down. Before this film comes out, which again, I already closed the page. I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm going to maybe first quarter of next year. I want you to watch the other two films and come back.
Do I have to watch like the Rocky 5 and 6?
No, why would you? You don't have to watch.
I don't know, Charlie. There might be a plot point. I'm like,
you don't have to watch any of the Rocky films. Well, you know what? I'll tell you what.
Well, I've seen all 1 through 4. I have not seen 5 or 6.
It wouldn't hurt to watch 6. Because you see Rocky in modern day, and spoiler alert, Adrian had cancer. She passed away. Rocky owns an Italian restaurant in South Philly, and then that's where he's at. And then goes through the events of that film, and then a couple years later, Creed comes out, and he's instrumental in that. And so you could, but then again, based on what I just told you, you don't have to. I would just say, watch Creed 1 and 2,
So you're saying, if I want to see how Rocky does as a restaurant owner,
restaurateur. Yes.
There you go. Because I mean, that might be important because,
I can't necessarily
do the sausage, do the meatball punch.
I can't necessarily oversell or undersell the value of Rocky Balboa, aka Rocky 6. That's a decision between you and your God. I can't help you with
I thought it might be like Karate Kid, where like that's how he trains, by showing how to make the pasta, because that's how you block. You gotta punch. You gotta punch the
meatballs. You gotta punch the. I'm gonna punch.
Mickey made you punch a steer and chase him behind him, but maybe Rocky's like, it's all about restaurant skills.
He's got to flipping the big tire over and running through the snow in Russia. Yeah, it's all that.
Got to pick up the big bowl of boiling water to get the pasta ready.
You bet. And you see a little bit of that. You see about the backwoods train. You see him punching a tree in this trailer. I think it looks nuts. I'm into it. So Todd, gauntlet down. Creed 1 and 2. That's on you. Make it so.
Is there a robot in any of them except for Rocky 4?
You know what? I don't want to give that away.
Is there a Polly? Is there like a new Polly?
No.
There's not like Polly 2.0?
The robot is Polly. There you go.
No, like Michael B. Jordan. Like Michael B. Jordan has like a Polly, who's his goofy friend.
It's a robot they put Polly's consciousness into that robot.
Oh, that's good. Like Herbie. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, he's exactly like Herbie. Well, and ties back to Michael B. Jordan.
Exactly.
Inexplicably in the Fantastic Four movie.
Was it the 6 degrees of the Fantastic Four?
Oh my God. 6 and 4 is 10.
Or should it be the 4 degrees of Fantastic Four? That's probably more appropriate.
There you go. Shorter trip. All right. So that comes out. I already closed it next year.
Yeah. March 2023. Yeah. So I've got time.
You got time. Make it happen.
All right. I will do that. I think they're all on HBO Max. Maybe.
Probably so. I wouldn't be surprised. All right. So the next 10 movies from DC presuming that they don't all get canceled.
Well, exactly. This is kind of like a precursor to what we're going to talk about in the Geek Easy.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's two parts of the story, essentially. So Black Adam is the most recent movie. We'll talk about that. So we'll move on to say, what's next with DC? When I saw Black Adam, there was a trailer for Shazam. Yep. I also there's a trailer for the Mario movie. Still looks good. Nothing new though.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll just go through this really quick, Charlie. So we'll do a quick check to say yay or nay. We don't have to go in deeper than that.
Now, is the yay or nay if we think it's going to actually come out, or if we care about it, or both?
How about if you are interested?
Okay.
Because I think these are, because we don't know if anything's going to happen with DC. You know, we could get a Gleek the Space Monkey movie after they canceled the Wonder Twins. We don't know. Oh my
God! All right,
maybe did Gleek show up in the Super? I need to watch the Super Pets just so I can see if Gleek showed up.
I can't even remember if he did. All right, I'm going to kick this off. Keep us on track. First film, March 17 in the new year. Shazam! I didn't get hit by a bolt of lightning. I'm pissed off.
You're the only one.
Yeah, ouch. Fury of the Gods, yay or nay? I'm a total yay. Very excited.
Yay too. Yay too. Yay,
Big
yay
time.
Me.
Yay too, Brutus. Oh, Todd, all right, what's after that?
Okay. Maybe. It's going to be Flash, June 23rd, 2023. The funny part about this is we did get some news about Ezra Miller. Apparently he's being charged with up to 26 years in prison or jail or whatever. I can't remember what the official charges are for. Somebody said it's just for stealing alcohol. I think it's
burglary, 26 years.
Not but the child endangerment.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's all lumped into one.
Grooming. Okay. Yeah.
Let's keep it moving. I'm going to say I am going to abstain from this one because I can't really express interest in something that I feel like it's too much poison. I just think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing that's making me say maybe yay is I think I need to see The Perfect Disaster. Maybe I take this one for the team. But apparently everybody is saying in the background, from what I understand, I was listening to a podcast where you get these reporters saying they're hearing from people on the inside who actually see this thing. They're like, they're excited about this movie. So I'm like, okay, is there something weird? But I'm hearing this also might be the way that they can skirt around, get this thing out and say at the end, it's going to Flashpoint and everybody's different. Ezra Miller is now a new actor. That could work.
You know what? That is a loophole. All right. Next up, Blue Beetle. Don't care. Sorry.
I like the character. I like the new take on him. And this is the Karate Kid, or the young one, which is Manuel playing Blue Beetle. I think it's a great, it's kind of like a alien young kid gets powers. I like this. I will see this when it comes out. So yeah.
All right, picking up the pace. You said we were going to go quick. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, Christmas of next year. I didn't really care for the first one, and if there's no sweater sniffing, I'm out.
Yay.
All right. Joker, Folie à Deux, October of, God, this 2 years from now, 2024. Totally.
That's a year gap. Wow.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, totally in, because Lady Gaga is going to be Harley Quinn. Yeah. That alone,
it's a musical. That's so weird.
I enjoy her. So yeah, I'm in on that one. Wonder Woman 3 TBC.
That's the actual subtitle, TBC.
Yeah, TBC. I'm going to say no because TBC means jack shit, and the last one was terrible.
I'm going to say yes because I think they're going to take all that feedback, Charlie, and realize they need to get the two directors and Jeff Johns out of the shit and let somebody else make the story. Because apparently they are both bad about picking a good script.
I guess.
So I'll say yay and hopefully fix it.
The rest of these are in the weeds because there's no dates. The Batman 2.
That was confirmed. It's happening.
Okay. I wouldn't say I was super crazy about the first one. You might have to go back and listen to our episode. Maybe I said I did love it, but
you did say you liked it.
Okay. Well, now in retrospect, it doesn't really thrill me. Black Canary next. Couldn't care less.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
That's not happening. I give it a poop.
Yeah. Supergirl. I think
that's not happening.
Yeah. Man of Steel 2 had a confirmation this week, I thought. No,
that might be like the will of the Rock trying to make the news feed.
He is.
I don't know,
and he is very formidable with his rock will. Rock will. There you go. It's like a rock wall, but it's the rock.
Rockwell, the singer who sang "Somebody's Watching Me."
Music trivia: Berry Gordy's son, the guy who was behind Motown.
Music trivia. I think that's the only song he ever did. Is it? I don't know.
Music trivia, absolutely concerned. But anyway, another really shitty DC.
So are you a yes though? If it's all rumors are true, are you a yes or a no?
Man of Steel. Yes, absolutely. I enjoyed Man of Steel.
I am too. Yeah. Hopefully, with Zack Snyder not involved, I hope he gets the movie he finally deserves.
I might guess. All right, moving on. Let's do this quick. More DCU. Yeah. Now, Todd, we reported this 2 months ago. Walter Hamada now leaving Warner Brothers. Is this?
Yes, it's true.
Is this a super bad sign that it's more kind of Discovery fingerprints, or is it just a bad sign that it all stinks regardless?
Well, and he didn't even want to accept like some type of development deal from Warner Brothers, so this is bad juju.
Bad juju.
Everyone apparently they've put out to basically be the Kevin Feige of DC has said no, because they think that they're basically in a bad position because it's just a hot mess. There's only one name, Charlie. So Walter Hamada was behind. He kind of came in a bad time too, because it was right around the time that Justice League had launched. He came in and he kind of had to fix some things. He had some mild success, but once again, he was kind of dealing with some really crappy stuff. So he's leaving. He doesn't want to deal with it. I'm hearing that Greg Berlanti may be the one who's finally approached. And if anybody has done something that's wide and breaching, he's probably the closest one that says, I can manage a million things. And with a big budget rather than the CW budget, he may be able to make some magic happen.
Well, I mean, you remember, and again, I think it was right basically when we first started doing the show, which is now 8 years ago, that's when Arrow was out, or was in the second season. It was great. We were both watching it, really engaged, because Arrow was just Batman because they couldn't do Batman because
Flash was introduced and like, this is fun.
Yeah, exactly. Legends of Tomorrow loved that show. Yeah. Certainly when it came out. I mean, that guy does good stuff. And again, CW, which seemed to have a good vibe for doing genre stuff, but little money, the little, obviously, network bucks. So yeah, you throw it in the mix. So I would say, there's nobody who couldn't, but it's not going to be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, even though he thinks he's going to be taking over DC Films. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But
he already made his own little desk plate. You
can get those from Etsy. I have one on my home office when April and I both started working from
home.
If
that's all it takes,
made plates
I'm
for us.
putting order in now. Director of Awesome Things. I make a lot of money.
Director of Awesomicity. Awesomeosity. There you go.
Commandant of Flamboyancy.
Oh my God. All right. Well, that wraps up the news. Holy cow. And let me just warn you, friends, that was about as much positivity as you're going to hear out of us. And things are going to get a little blue when I get out my phone. I have to call up a gypsy cab. Time to get down to Nastyville, Scugtown. We're going to the Geek Easy. Buckle up.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. It's going to be more of a condensed Geek Easy because we're really only talking about a couple things this week, which I think is appropriate because I could not imagine either of us wanting to talk too long about either of these main things.
God. Well, thank God. I mean, back in the day, we would do a spoiler cast for a major genre release. But I'm going to kick it off, and again, we're gonna tag team this deal, and hopefully not talk over each other as we expound. But back at Thursday, a couple days ago, we went and saw Black Adam. This is DC's second and final release for the year because the Batman came out back in.
Oh, that's right.
February. Yeah, you forget about it. You forget about it because I was
no. It's just 2022 is just a weird year because I remember when I saw that, and I need to watch that again, Charlie, because I saw it in the worst theater in the world because I went to see it with a friend. So I need to see it on a real screen.
I 100% fell asleep in the middle of it. I don't know why,
Charlie, because you fall asleep in every movie.
I don't anymore. So
really, that's a change.
It gets me to thinking that maybe that's for a specific reason. I don't know. It's just that movie was so dark and rainy, and maybe it just made me feel like sleepy time. But anyway, back to Black Adam. So we have a storyline, and again, I'm not going to remember any of the specifics of character names and this.
So spoilers, everyone.
Spoilers, everyone.
For
both films. Yeah, it's not. So yeah, we get back in ancient times. What's the name of the ancient city, Todd?
Kahndaq. Which is part of the comic. That's part of the thing. So
you're right. No, I know that. Yeah. I know that we mentioned that with something else. So let me take a big sip of my Canada House whiskey here. Hold on. So I will finish this by the time we get through Sleepaway Camp. But yeah, so in ancient times, they were, Kahndaq was this great big city. They got conquered. The people became slaves. They were to dig for the unobtainium, the eternium.
Which is the same as vibranium. All of these crappy, dumb names.
So slave digging, and then a boy finds it, and then, he's going to be executed. But then the gods from Shazam show up, and they're like, you're going to be our Avenger. We're giving you the juice. You're Teth Adam, or at least that's what we go through most of the movie thinking that's what it is. He finally gets his revenge, and then he disappears, and you don't know why. Flash forward to modern times. You still got Kahndaq, but they're kind of like Scotland. Everybody goes through and conquers them. They're like Scotland or Ireland. Everybody goes through and conquers them. And currently they're conquered by this corporation with fancy flying bikes. And they're
not a corporation. Intergang is essentially organized crime.
Yeah, it's a corporation of organized crime. And I assume that's from the comics.
They trade on the NASDAQ. Yeah.
There you go. That's from the comics as well, I assume. That's
exactly. That's the big organized crime.
So that's like the Magia or a Hydra.
Absolutely, which is better tech and more interesting name. Yeah,
right, exactly correct. So at any rate, the whole MacGuffin from early in the film is there's this big crown of evil. That's what disappeared when Teth Adam, killed the king back in ancient times, and now everybody's getting a little bit closer to trying to find it. And when they stumble upon it, that's when Teth Adam is released from his tomb, prison, whatever it is. And immediately, Todd, this is where the movie turned into eye roll city for me. Because first of all, what we were seeing, I'm like, well, this really seems pretty par for the course. But immediately when Teth Adam gets released, Teth Adam is, of course, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the star of the film. He starts horrifically killing people by the first guy grabs him and he electrocutes him until he turns into bones. And then he does more and more of it, and he's squishing people. And it's supposed to make you feel what exactly? We also get, and again, April and I looking at each other back and forth, we're like, Snyder might not be involved, but his fingerprints are all over this to the point that there's so much slow-mo in this movie, it probably added 20 minutes. Just, he's punching and he's screaming, and his eyes are lightening up, and the lightning's going back and forth. It just turns into Trope City. Then we slide into the Justice Society of America. There you go. Out of absolutely fucking nowhere, Hawkman, Dr. Fate, and then it got April and I were talking about this. They threw in Atom Smasher and Cyclone. Cyclone's a young...
Cyclone is a character I'm not very familiar with.
Right.
So I don't remember her being part of the Justice Society.
Atom Smasher rang a bell. And as April said, the last two were completely superfluous. Paid almost no purpose to the story. Dr. Fate, I think, was a high point, played by Pierce Brosnan, character that I have some fondness with. We saw him obviously in Smallville and some other television incarnations. And I like Hawkman. It was played by Aldous Hodge, who I went back April and I watching The Walking Dead right now. Aldous Hodge was in The Walking Dead. Before the apocalypse, he was Michonne's husband and mother of his son.
Okay. Yeah, he's been in other things too. Yeah, I can't remember what though. Yeah.
He was in one of the short treks. Do you remember the one where a guy finds discovery in the distant future? Yes, it was.
Yep. And the dancing and
he falls in love with the AI running the ship. So and so he was good but super predictable. So I would for sure say that of that quartet, I enjoyed Pierce Brosnan the most because everybody loves Pierce Brosnan. He's James Bond.
Oh, Charlie. Aldous Hodge was in Big Mama's House.
I don't know that I've ever seen that one. It's honky grandma be tripping.
And he's got a really good movie list. Yeah, he was in Straight Outta Compton. He was MC Ren.
Yeah, I did notice that when I was looking through it. All right, so in the end of it, blah blah blah. We didn't have a big blue sky hole, but we had
we had a red sky hole.
We had the red devil, and obviously there's a big bad and. Teth Adam, he's kind of like the Arnie as the Terminator in T2, where he's got a kid sidekick teaching him to be hip and say stuff and whatever it is, and the kid's mom, but the kid is there to obviously be a foil to get kidnapped and blah 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 because that's a big subplot in the film. And in the end of it, he's successful, and you find out that really he was a villain in ancient times, but now he's choosing to be good and blah, 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 and defeat the Satan. And so anyway, at the end of it, we end up with the Stinger that is Black Adam, which is what he chooses to be because of his outfit, and Adam, which was already his name, kind of doing basically a Teams call with Amanda Waller.
Via drone, yes.
Via drone. Now, that's not Viola Davis, that's the other one, right? No, that is Viola Davis. Viola Davis, Octavia Spencer, they don't look at all alike, so I don't know why to mix them. But Amanda Waller, who's of course from the Suicide Squad and other things, is Viola Davis, correct? So
yes, and she was the Woman Queen?
Yeah, the Woman King, which I've not seen.
Yeah. Which that was supposed to be really good, yeah.
Yeah, but at any rate, so they're mixing it up via this Teams call. He hangs up. He's like, "Well, I don't think anybody on this planet can stop me." And it's like, could there be a more heavy-handed lead-in to the Stinger that Dwayne Johnson himself revealed about a week ago, that Henry Cavill shows up as Superman in his classic Superman outfit? Todd,
we need to talk.
7 thumbs down. Totally obnoxious film.
I felt I said it. I walked away from the film feeling nothing. I mean, mediocre. It felt like
nothing is a good feeling, because again, when you see a movie with someone, we're walking talking about it.
It's not remarkable. It doesn't do anything that great. It doesn't do anything that horrible. That would say, I think people think the worst movie ever. No, I just think it's generic. It's mediocre. It's bland. It feels like a superhero pre-MCU, which it should be better, and they should have learned from it. But I'm like, I don't know. I liked some of the characters, but they were poorly developed. I thought the fact that Teth Adams, Black Adam, kind of talked like a regular dude was a misstep. He should have had some type of
accent
connection to his exactly. He spoke the language before,
and then he was speaking English, or
he should have spoke the language first. He listened to them and like, okay, I'm a god, I can translate and I'll speak English.
I can pick up watching TV or whatever.
But I mean,
April and I were walking out, and she made the point. She said, I liked the story. I thought the storytelling was abysmal.
Absolutely. Bad script, bad plotting. None of the action scenes were, I think, effective. At doing a lot of things you talked about, Charlie. Like, he's just killing people. I'm like, okay.
He's nuking them and blasting people, and more than once he just throws guys into the distance to their death, and it's like, and a lot of that shit was in the trailer, so it's like, okay, well, it doesn't have any impact, because this was very front loaded in a trailer, which is the big danger. If you don't we threw some things in the trailer, it's kind of a sizzle reel, and then maybe those things aren't in the film after all.
Yeah. It felt a lot like Wonder Woman, except without the charm.
Yeah.
Because you essentially had the same type of end battle. And I thought a lot of the characters were misused. And like you said, Charlie, they just showed up, and it's like, that doesn't work. It's not like that doesn't work anymore. It's not enough like, oh, God, wow, look at them. Nobody knows who these characters are except maybe the geeks like me. And it just seems like, what a missed opportunity. And it's like, at this point, I'm like, I don't know. Like I said, underwhelming. First I said, I hope just to be whelmed. I was underwhelmed.
Okay.
Disappointed.
Fair.
I do feel like, I think we talked about this, Charlie, like just a second ago. I feel like The Rock, no one wanted to tell, like George Lucas, no one wanted to tell The Rock, hey, you've been working at this for 15 years. Maybe you should update the plot from 15 years ago when, superhero movies can be fantastic. This just felt like when people didn't know how to do superhero films. And I get it. They're not easy. Marvel still stumbles with like Eternals and other things. But this is such a huge missed opportunity.
But even looking at Marvel's scorecard, if they stumble here and there, they're at still 92% of great success. Where DC is at maybe 20%. Certainly certainly in a comparable timeline. So in the last
I was thinking about that ranking the DCU. It's really, there's a handful, so it's probably 40% hit rate maybe.
Shazam was great, Wonder Woman was great. Going further back,
the first
got the Nolan trilogy.
Man of Steel was probably decent. Aquaman, I thought, was entertaining. Not a great film, but still not horrible. People, whether you like the thing.
Like you said, DC between 20 and 40% is their hit ratio. But yeah, everything just miss after miss. BVS miss. Justice League, huge miss. So much. I mean, they came back into the Snyder cut, but again, it's just even like, for example, when we were talking to Katie about it, she's like, I'm not going to invest 4 hours into a film that I hated the first time. And how many people felt the same way?
I think that's the whole point. It's like, and it's a curiosity. And I don't know how many people outside of like the people that are morbidly curious and the people that loved Snyder actually will ever go back and see that one versus the one. I don't know. I don't know. One thing that I wanted to pull out, Charlie, that just is so odd in this movie. How many times did they mention Shazam? Like the wizards giving him the Shazam power. That was the whole thing. He was the first one to get the powers, taking it away from him.
Right.
And the fact that we've got a Shazam movie coming out and they're trying to make Superman his rival. How dumb is that?
Oh my God.
It's a huge miss. And I'm like, I hope.
And again,
I don't want anything to go badly, but I want Shazam to continue on.
Right.
And if Black Adam comes back, I want him to be a minor character or somebody who shows up in an ensemble, not to be the main character again. So I don't want Black Adam to be the center of the DCU.
He's kind of like Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Right. You're right. It was just like, it would be great. He would be a great side piece or a side piece.
Absolutely.
Part of a team, whatever it is. But when you gave Boba Fett his own show and then you took basically 40% of that show and made it about another character, which they didn't take that big of a chunk. But again, working the wizards in, and then you got to throw Superman in at the end. But it's so dubious because they talk about getting rid of Batfleck and they talk about getting rid of, Superman and it's just such a mess. I like Henry Cavill as Superman. Of course, for me, nothing will ever be Chris Reeve as Superman, but Chris Reeve is dead and it doesn't really matter.
Well, it's 40 years ago, too. So,
exactly.
But we have that thing of like we have someone that did the role in a unique way.
Right.
I said, if I want Superman to show up, I want him to be doing heroic things around the globe. Well, I don't want him fighting other heroes.
He's Superman and he saves the world. He's the champion of Earth. So exactly. So that's exactly the way it should be.
Yeah. So,
all right.
So quick score. You're giving it like a 2 out of 10.
Yeah. I was going to say I'd love to push it up closer to a 3, but I just can't.
I'm giving it a 5 just because I felt like there was parts that I could have liked more, but it just felt like a movie from 2005, and it didn't learn that it's 2022.
Right, and the Rock's overall Trump-like exuberance over this, like, my God, we're changing
Rock has never acted before. Right. I mean, The Rock really doesn't act. He shows up and says lines as himself.
And he did. Well, he's Will Smith. Don't you remember don't you remember back in the days like Wild Wild West with Will Smith? Or Independence Day with Will Smith. He's just doing Will Smith, and that was him early in his career.
Charisma goes a long way, but it shouldn't go all the way.
But eventually, it ends. All right, moving on.
Dies out. Yeah. So Charlie. Another movie that we both watched. I watched it last weekend. Yeah, I'll take this one. So I watched Halloween Ends on Peacock when it first debuted. And, feedback, we liked 2018 Halloween, really enjoyed it. Thought like, wow, this is a really good take. It's probably the best Halloween film in years. And then we got the sequel, which was Halloween Kills, which both of us thought, did they hire a different director, a different scriptwriter? Because this felt like it's by a completely different staff. Neither of us liked it. We were just like, what the hell is this? So I thought, well, maybe Halloween Ends is where they fix this trilogy, where it's ending, and we get something good. And Charlie, let me just tee this up. How do you feel about a Michael Myers-led movie where he's only in like 15 minutes of the movie? Does that sound like a good script, like to go on?
What the hell is even going on in the rest of the film if that's what happens?
I don't know. That's the problem. I mean, I like the beginning and end of this movie. I like the first 15 minutes and I like the last 15 minutes. And the rest of it should be its own like Halloween 3. It's just his own thing, but do it elsewhere. Please.
I just don't even really know what to say. So, you're right. We get things rolling. And I couldn't figure out. It's like, oh, did this happen in the distant past or whatever? But yeah, so
it probably happened like 2019.
Yeah. So maybe? because again, you know, the first two films were kind of back to back. So yeah, this feels like it's a year after basically the
first maybe.
And then you've got the neighborhood kid, and he's babysitting, and the kid's a little bastard. Todd and I have already talked extensively recently about how much we hate other people's children. This was a great example.
We talked about the kid in Black Adam getting captured. What are kids there to be captured or to annoy the hell out of you? That's about it. Right.
And if you really do hit triple Yahtzee, you could get that. Plus, what's the third thing kids do?
Oh God, yes, that's true.
You know, there's got to be a third thing. Yeah. So anyway, this kid has an accidental death. It makes this the
very effective opening sequence. I thought it was really neat because, you know, people are paranoid about Michael Myers, and we get this kid Corey who's going to college. He takes some time off to raise some money, becomes a babysitter for this annoying kid in this house with this couple that the house that he's babysitting apparently has 18 flights of stairs. It's the tallest house in the world.
I know, it's amazing. If you look at it from the outside, it just doesn't look like that.
But it's crazy. And then we just get this tragic thing where the kid disappears doing hide and seek. Corey gets trapped in a thing in a room, and he's trying to get out, and the kid's parents are coming back. He's paranoid. I'm like, oh crap, they're going to find out I've been locked in, and they're not going to think I'm a very good babysitter. He kicks open the door. The kid is behind the door, gets knocked out over the banister and falls like 18 floors and dies.
Exactly. He does. He looks like he falls through a hole in the plot or the space-time continuum or both. So anyway, this kid, obviously the older kid gets ostracized, you know, the town killer. So it's a year later or whatever it is. And
not charged with homicide. It was accidental.
Right, accidental death. Yep. So he's in you find out that Laurie Strode, or basically Jamie Lee Curtis's character, is living with her granddaughter because
she's Martha Stewart now too.
Exactly,
which doesn't make any sense.
I know, but you find that she lived with her granddaughter because the mother character, Laurie's daughter, was Michigan native, Livonia, Michigan native, Judy Greer, killed off in the last movie. So the two of them are living together and blah, blah, blah. And the daughter, or the granddaughter, who's also an RN, is working at a hospital, ends up bumping into the kid, the ostracized kid, because he's got a bump on the head or whatever it is. They form a romance.
Charlie, I want to interrupt to say, he was picked on by band geeks.
Right. That...
And the weirdest group of punk band geeks. Band geeks are not dangerous people.
We're on our way to homecoming. Fuck you. Boom, boom, boom. And then Laurie swoops in, saves the kid, takes him to the hospital.
The kid with the mullet? Come on. Or even these people are just ridiculous. What town is this?
That shit's is badass. It's intense. There's no doubt about
bangs
it.
And a mullet. What could be cooler?
Bad bangs.
No sideburns.
But oh god, that's like and this happened with a coworker of mine who I saw a week or so ago. The bald head with the beard that just kind of start. Where does it start?
Oh, that's very popular, Charlie. It's
I know.
You shave your head, you get I can't grow a beard, but that's very popular. You know what? I get it. Grow hair where you can. It's the skullet that I'm not a big fan of. That's why I don't grow it out, because that's what you get. I'm like, now I just look like a weird old dude.
You'd look like Riff Raff from Rocky Horror.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm not going that route. You know what? I try to keep it, trim and tight. That's what I say. Oh my
God. So at any rate, so we circle back to moving things forward. A romance develops between the granddaughter and the ostracized kid, but you really do find out
why though, Charlie? Corey has no charisma. He's not an attractive man. Very dirty and gross. Right. But he drives a broke-ass motorcycle.
And the reason he's dirty and gross is what we find out is that he's spending his time murdering hobos with Michael Myers, who is not dead. So the two of them become a Batman and Robin of killing.
Yeah. Apparently, Michael Myers has been hiding in a sewer pipe, recovering.
Because you can recover from the shit that happened to him in the previous two movies, because he got burned, shot at, stabbed, whatever. Yeah, break. Everything was broken.
We're on a break.
So he's on a break or whatever, and he's recovering. And he hooks up with the ostracized kid, and they become this killer duo. And it works its way back to, just to make a long story short, works its way back to a final showdown. The kid obviously gets himself killed, but it leads to a final showdown between Laurie and Michael Myers that ends over a kitchen island.
So can we go back a second though? Because when Corey goes like apeshit, so he goes to like the junkyard.
Right.
And he becomes like a man possessed. Like the way he takes out some of the people. And that's something I think when these movies, what you want is some good deaths, some really cool creative ideas. And this was bankrupt for it. Some of the deaths were just kind of gruesome and not creative, like just running over people, busting their skulls. Was there a kill that you thought was like creative? I thought when the one girl, the nurse who got promoted, was like put up like a push pin on the wall. Oh. I thought that one was halfway decent.
It was funny. We were chuckling. We were watching because April's like, years before April and I met, she dated an ophthalmologist, so our doctor. She says, when I was dating him, I called him Brian. I didn't call him Dr. So-and-so every time we were. It was just so super fake, and fancy house, whatever it is. And Haddonfield, you can't really figure it out because parts of it are abandoned and parts of it are McMansions. It
feels like the Rust Belt where a town's struggling. Right. It's kind of like the precursor. I mean, this whole thing was just very odd. You had like the weird, like Laurie and her daughter or her granddaughter, like the relationship was a little bit strained. Laurie wanted her to go out and just experience life. So she says, "Oh, Corey looks like a nice guy. You should date him." Well, that did not go well. And then Laurie says, "Oh, you can't because he's got the eyes of a killer. You need to not be with him." So then that causes strife. And
that
then
never works.
And then when Corey and her granddaughter go out, they go to the club, and Corey's not charismatic. He goes to the bar. He pushes her back so hard, and her granddaughter's an attractive woman, seems intelligent, has things going for him, but obviously broken and wants to fix someone.
Right.
It's just so wrong.
You know what? You know that I have that same hang up myself. I'm in therapy about it, trying to fix broken people. Doing better all the time. But yeah, it's a perfect recipe for it. Anyway, let's skip forward, as I said, to the big denouement, which is the big slug out. What does she do to him here? So she stabs him Laurie stabs Michael a bunch of times. She got him pinned on the island. She pulls down the refrigerator on his leg so he can't get up. Breaks his arm.
As most 65-year-old women can do.
Right. Well, she does do Activia, so she poops. But she manages to get his mask off, cut his throat. He's bleeding everywhere. And he finally dies,
still not
right?
done. But still not done. No. Remember, he tried to, Yeah.
Yeah. He's still got one arm, so even though his arms were, he's still broken and flapping around. And they do manage to finally kill him. And then the big conclusion, that the procession of cars, like a funeral, in the night, through town, back to the junkyard, to the car crusher, the thing that
it destroys all the metal. It's got all the teeth.
They put his corpse into this grinder, and you get to watch this grinder destroy his corpse. Halloween ends. How much money did this movie make?
I don't know. Well, the funny part is, I thought this was like an allegory. Like Michael Myers was dying, and Corey, essentially, his killing, fed Michael Myers, brought him back, because when we first saw him, he was kind of stumbling around, not very healthy, not the Michael that can is like a tank. But with Corey, ultimately felt like he was feeding his soul and making him whole. So then Michael Myers essentially says, "Well, you've done your job, Corey." Crack, or not crack, but when Laurie gets screwed over because, if I can't have your, Corey says to her, because Corey tries to kill Laurie. "Oh, well, if I can't have your daughter, you can't." And he basically stabs himself and dies. And her granddaughter doesn't side with him. She runs away. So just a hot mess of a movie. And I think this is finally done. Maybe,
especially if this tanked out. Well, they would have to reboot it again, which Rob Zombie did back in 2010 or 2012 or something.
Oh, we had H2O. Remember when H2O happened?
Well,
that was brought back. Yeah,
that was going back in the 90s, and essentially when they brought this back, they wiped
Absolutely.
all the canon going back to that first 1978 film, and they jumped it forward to the 2018, so 40 years, whatever it is. Is this done?
Well, we go back to 3, right? We just redo 3 where they have the weird Halloween masks and make it a new thing.
There you go. So anyway,
what would you give this one, Charlie?
This, I'm going to put it higher. I was actually entertained by this versus Black Adam. This I would give like a 3.5 out of 10.
I'm going to give this one a 4 because
there you go.
I liked the opening and the ending.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
It was, and then it was just nothing but static for the, and Todd, this was like 2 hours, this was like an hour 50. It's really long.
Yeah, it was. It was just weird. Yeah,
it was just big time. Thank God.
Well, it was nice to see Lori. Maybe Lori will have a happy life as she goes on with the guy with the bad comb over.
Yeah, her and Will Patton, the sheriff, because there's always a sheriff in movies like this.
They're going to go to wherever, Italy. I don't know where he says. Yeah.
Wrap it up for us. Let's wrap this up.
Something positive you can do to enjoy the spooky season is, this is on Shudder, but if you own AMC Plus, it's there as well. And that is 101 Scariest Movie Moments. This is really great. Every episode is like 10 different movie scenes or movies where they kind of focus on why it's really good. And they're like 40 minutes long. So it's very condensed and you can see a lot. And what they do is a great job of like enticing you to say, oh, I've never watched that film. That looks really cool. I'll watch that. Some movies are like, I see what they're doing there. I'm not going to watch that. And it's just great. I mean, most recently, so they start off with 101. They go 101 like to 88. And then they do every episode. There's a couple more left. So Charlie, you can actually watch this. I think it's a great use of time to really invest to see what horror movies are out there that might have missed and some that you can obviously skip. I like it. They bring in like actors, directors, just people that and give their feedback on movies. Like Tony Todd is in this. It's great. He talks about his own role in Candyman. And then we've got directors. It's great. I love it because they just are dissecting the parts of the thing that what makes it scary and works, from old stuff from like the 30s to modern times and more recent movies. They just did the Blair Witch as well, was the one most recently I saw. And they talked about the whole thing that really is tying it together, why it was interesting, kind of like Paranormal Activity, same thing there. So,
well, I told you, that's the movie that April and I are going to watch when we're done recording here. So, because we're trying to, we made a big list of Halloween movies and we've gotten so caught up in enjoying watching The Walking Dead that we've not seen a ton of them. And plus, my travel schedule, there's a lot of nights I'm not home. So we're trying to squeeze in just a few, but we've at least still got some time. It's only the 22nd. So we've still got some time before.
So I highly recommend this. It's just great because it's just like, it gives you so many things to think about. And as I've watched a few, I'm like, oh, that would be something we should watch, or something we should add on maybe to next year with Shocktober or Spooktember. So very, very well worth your time if you're interested in people talking about things and maybe bring out some classics you may not have ever seen.
Whew, that is certainly not going to count for what we have next. Oh my God. So anyway, it's time to wrap this up. Todd, I've got my phone out, got that Air Qantas app open. We're going to the land down under. That's right. The mutants are waiting for us for their entertainment value. Let's not delay. It's time to get to the Thunderdome. Let's go.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
We're sitting in the Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, it's the end of Shocktober, week 4, where we are going to be talking about the classic Sleepaway Camp.
Let me just jump right on in here. When you and I, about a year ago, were doing a lot of work with Rich Davenport, and I wish him well. Hopefully he's being successful doing whatever it is that he's doing. This was a film that he's like, oh my God, you've not watched Sleepaway Camp? Sleepaway Camp is the movie, the Halloween horror, whatever movie that you've got to see. And I don't know if he was serious. Hope not. I don't know if he was fucking with us, which I think is a possibility. But that stuck in my brain. And I finally said, you know what?
I gave you 3 choices, Charlie. And you said Sleepaway Camp.
Well, because you know what, my having no background, I was like, you know what, I guess I would really like to know if there is something to this. So I chose Sleepaway Camp. So let me do the breakdown here. So Sleepaway Camp, Angela Baker, a shy, traumatized young girl, is sent to a summer camp with her cousin. Shortly after her arrival, anyone with sinister or less than honorable intentions toward her gets their comeuppance, which is just a word I always really very much enjoy. Released in November of 1983, written and directed by Robert Hiltzik. Okay.
Hiltzik. Yep.
Hiltzik, there you go. Stars are Felissa Rose in the titular Sleepaway Camp role. No, there's no titular role. She is Angela. Jonathan Tierstein and Karen Fields. Todd, where do we even get started talking about this?
Yeah. So I knew very little bit about this, but I knew there was like these classic covers at the Blockbuster. We'd see them, Sleepaway Camp. I'm like, oh, okay, that's spooky. Maybe I'll watch that eventually. It's like kind of like the Slumber Party Massacre. I don't know if it's good, bad, and Sleepaway Camp is something I'm like, okay, well, maybe is it on the point? This is all it is, or is there something more? Is there something cool about this? And I don't even know what to say about this film, except that this film is not notably well directed, not great acting. Like we said, I don't know if any of these actors have been seen since this movie. Or were picked because of their acting skills and what they could bring to this movie. But it's essentially just, we open on this film where I thought this was hilarious because we essentially have people out on a lake. We've got a young father with his two kids in a boat, having a good time. Then we've got these three teenagers in a speedboat. The boy is driving. The girl next to him is having a good time, and then there's someone on jet skis behind them. And then the girl says, I want to drive. I'm good at this. And the boy with her,
she was not good at this.
Yeah. And apparently, let's put it this way, she tries to prove that she's a good driver, pays no attention to what she's doing. And guess what happens? The kids drop over the boat with the dad as a joke. They're having a good time. And everybody notices, except for the woman driving it, that she is going to run them over. And that's exactly what happens. And then we fast forward to this weird mom who is sending her kids off to summer camp, and she's an odd bird.
She's really
like, the least.
Who is what was that? I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. It was Barbara Stanwyck
yes.
In Hollywood Boulevard, whatever it is. Just like fucking Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Reminds you of
wearing
you
a beret.
This is what the mom from Psycho was really like. And yeah, you have your main character who's ostensibly looks like a very lovely young woman, Angela. I mean, the New York stereotypes in this film do not stop for 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, I don't know where this was filmed. I'm trying to look to see if it was just like a local film.
I know. It was filmed in far northeastern New York in a certain county that borders Vermont. I looked it up.
And it was filmed for $350,000. That was its budget, Charlie. So we're gonna look up it's like what it actually made. So I mean, but that Mel guy, Mike Killen, he was born in 22 in Hartford, Connecticut. So a local, he must have been a local talent. He was in the jazz. I was given some of his like roles.
Singer? Oh wow.
He was in the Jazz Singer, not the original one from 1982. Midnight Express. Not a lot of film.
Well, he was clearly the only notable. Absolutely everyone.
He was in Phoebe and the Bean, and he was in Kojak. So apparently, he was like kind of like a
Absolutely,
actor.
Everyone else in this was some kid they got from the Jewish Community Center in Teaneck, New York. Definite Long Island types, all the accents
from the Bronx or something like that.
Yeah. It wasn't even regional theater quality acting.
No.
None of the lines.
It made $11 million. So essentially it did really well.
Yeah. No, but I mean, none of the lines landed. None of the dialogue was none of the dialogue could be delivered. It was more wooden than any of the lines spoken by great actors like Samuel L. Jackson or Natalie Portman in the Star Wars prequel trilogy.
George Lucas should have been given an Oscar compared to what these actors were doing.
I mean, it was, what's a really hard wood? Like maple? What do they make coffins out of? That's
teak.
We'll
go with teak.
So this was, instead of wooden, this was teak. This acting was teak. There you go.
Yeah.
It was really tight.
Yeah, so essentially it's your standard, these kids are showing up at camp. They're, it's young kids up to teens. There's the camp counselors. It's not a new novel concept.
No, not at all.
And so, but you do focus on like the Ricky and his cousin Angela,
Right.
their travails, and
and Angela she's a mute. She doesn't speak to anybody. Eventually, she opens up to this young boy who is courting her. You have kind of the trashy girl. I'm already forgetting all the characters' names. I watched it yesterday. You have the trashy girl who's tries to, who hates Angela because Angela, it won't speak and whatever it is, and it's just a pissing match between her and Angela, and then she tries to steal away Angela's boyfriend, so that just kind of makes it worse. And it's just extraordinarily thinly veiled that, sorry, Angela's the killer that goes around and kills absolutely every one of the characters.
Charlie, you gave it away already.
It's only been 40 years. Sorry, 39 years, excuse me.
No, but I was like, we're going to build up to this because I'm like, the whole time I'm like,
no, we're not going to build up to any damn thing. Forget about it.
No, because I think the whole point is like, and I was going to break this down. So we get deaths. So the deaths that occur.
No, we're not going to break the actual turn. We'll save that for the end. But the fact that Angela was the killer.
But I was a little bit worried. I'm like, are we going to get Angela is the mute. She kind of stands out there. She is like, she's getting mistreated all over the place. Her cousin Ricky is coming to her honor all the time. There's a couple good counselors. There's a couple of bad counselors, which is absolutely hilarious.
Oh, the cook. Yeah. That was the first one.
Oh yeah. The creepy guy who's obviously looking at the new camp residents coming in. Like, who am I going to accost?
To pull his wiener out. He's unbuckling his pants, and
it's gross. Yeah. So I was going to break this down. So as we go through this, the deaths, Charlie. So we've got a death by boiling, who's the chef. We've got a death by bees, who is one of the camp counselors, who's a jerk.
We got a knife through the shower wall. We got
bludgeoning, I guess you could call it.
Arrow through the throat. The absolute best one, hot curling iron in the cooter. That would be.
Was that what it was? I wasn't sure where that was going.
Yeah,
because it was opened up. It was opened up. I don't know.
So it clamped down on the. I'm not showing you with my hands. You just. Charlie, but that is.
We're moving off. Killed with the curling iron.
I did read somewhere that was what was inferred.
So I don't want to know. Killed with curling iron. One was killed by drowning. In the boat. Then we had one. I was trying to remember how everybody was killed, because there was some interesting kills in this thing.
I'll give you that. That's probably one of the only saving graces. Yeah,
we had like a sack death where there was all these little kids basically bludgeoned to death at night. So that was another death by arrow, much you mentioned.
Not gonna lie to you, I did again fall asleep in the middle and I missed the sack deaths. I'm sorry.
It's such a short movie too. It's like, it's not exactly long.
85 minutes. You're absolutely
exactly,
correct.
No, exactly.
I nodded off. Yes, I missed the sack deaths.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was some of the deaths were, I didn't see any of the deaths that were that interesting, to be honest. I didn't think they did anything really cool.
I thought the curling iron bit was unique. I'll give it that much.
Yeah, it was just such a bizarre.
It was unique and different, I thought.
Yeah,
but it was bizarre.
Yeah, so then we had all these deaths occurred, and then it was weird. Mel, the owner of the camp, who did not want to let anyone know anyone was dying, apparently. He's like, it'll ruin me financially.
Ruined me. Remember, really, he was the guy who got the arrow, so that's what ruined him more than financially.
Well, and he got a little obsessed, so he tried to like beat Ricky to death, which I just thought was like, that's very odd.
That was a little bit too aggro for his bit, yeah. So it says, the acting, and again, he was the only actor in this film. You had super buff Steve Perry was one of the counselors.
Oh, he was awesome. He was a nice guy.
Yeah, and he lived because it was him and one of the other counselors that in the
nice girl.
In the penultimate scene, finds Angela for the final
reveal that the boy that Angela was kind of interested in.
She finally pulls him off into the woods for a little romance.
We'll get out of our clothes. We'll have a good time, because she's been pushing him away. We don't know why and why she's weirded out. Yeah, because she seems the one that he's connected to. They're connected to each other, and she's finally coming out. And and then we get everybody who's been attacked by her that sees Angela was like, oh, it's you. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's where we're going. But then the big reveal at the end, it's like, and this is like 4 minutes left.
Right. This ended on a bang. Reminded me of Todd, I don't know if you've ever seen it, filmed from the early 70s. I think it's a Robert Altman, or whatever it is. Dog Day Afternoon. Have you ever seen that film?
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen it, but I know of it about a guy who's doing a robbery to get a sex change for
right. But when it ends, a guy gets shot between the eyes and the movie's over.
Oh, okay.
This was very much like that. However, so are we prepared to move forward?
Spoilers to the very end. If you're sticking around here, it's a spoiler, folks.
So yes, so the buff Steve Perry and the other girl come in flashlights upon someone's back. It's Angela. She's naked, so you can see that she's naked from the back. You see a naked pair of legs off to the side, so you're using your head to figure out that it's the boy. She turns around to stand up, and the boy's severed head rolls forward. She's murdered him and cut his head off with what really looked like I'm not going to say a kitchen knife, but not even really a steak knife, but managed to cut his head off, sever the bone. That part's kind of hard to believe. She reveals her face, gaped mouth, agape. You see completely
weird
nude
noises.
Yeah, she's just, but her mouth is unmoving eyes, open mouth. You do see in full nudity that it's a completely nude boy with a pubis and a penis. She is transgendered individual.
Well, it's not even transgendered. It was the fact that you get a flashback. You find out that the mother of Ricky adopted, or basically took on, after her husband died, after that tragic accident, took on this child and said, I've always wanted a girl, so that's what you're going to be. So took a boy and essentially raised the boy as a girl against the character's will. So it's not even, it's a sense of like traumatized, treated away, and then just, I mean, it didn't handle it very well and odd, and essentially said, well, anybody who goes through this should be a murderous, crazy person. So just not a great look in 2022.
My good, yeah, and it's funny because I was looking through the wiki page on this, and there was a big section on commentary, and there were a lot of queer and transgendered journalists commenting on this and talking about the complete inappropriateness in the transition to a modern audience of looking at, well, gosh, if you're biologically male but raised as a female, that it would make you insane and murderous, and if that's the inference, that's horrible. That's absolutely, and it is horrible to assume that, because there are no doubt people who have been raised that way who figured out who they really were and managed to live a completely normal life. There are people who
it's weird though, because it's not like this was a choice. This was somebody who was forced upon all of these things upon themselves and had no choice in the matter. It was like, so then it's not even like it's such a weird, different discussion rather than the standard where someone chooses that path for themselves. So it's just an odd one. I don't know, but I feel like, wow, that's, I mean, anytime you put trauma on a kid, they're probably not going to turn out right.
No, well, there's no doubt about it. So at any rate, to wrap this up with a bow, the biggest issue for me, obviously made for $350,000, very low concept for what they could really accomplish. So none of the kills really wowed you. This was a couple of years after Friday the 13th, which was filmed in New York, the New Jersey. So kind of the similar vibe, but a film that I think did things a hell of a lot better. You had no actors. You had nobody who could deliver a line of dialogue. You had the unfortunate combination of a writer-director, which again, that writer-director piece really reminds me of Kevin Smith, because if you think about Clerks, there were no actors in that film either. Sorry, Kevin. I love the film, but again, you and I broke that down several months ago as far as movies that hold up. Like I said, this was somebody's pet passion project that they made with a bunch of kids from the community center from Ronkonkoma, Long Island, and took them to upstate New York and made this film, and ultimately had a message at the end of it that does not translate at all favorably to a modern audience. So it's kind of a failure across the board. Yet I was told this is a classic cult film and slasher thing and this and that. I think it's a failure on all cylinders, to be perfectly honest with you. There's nothing about this.
I think it was probably fine in the 80s, but does not hold up. It's camp, and that's the best way to put it. It doesn't stand out.
It's camp. Really, camp. Camp and camp.
Yeah, it's camp and camp.
Camp. There you go.
But some people love this thing, Charles. That's the thing, and I think Rick is a big fan of that. Like, he likes that era where things were goofy and not edited well, and it's just like that feel. I get it. It's like why I enjoyed Scanners for what it was, but I recognize it's not good, but I like some of the elements of the time. So it is for a certain audience in a way that is not meant to say this is a quality piece. It is a thing that people enjoy because of elements of it is. Yeah.
Red Dawn or Iron Eagle, right? It was a thing of its time that was not well done.
Yeah.
But in the context of your member berries and looking back on something you saw that you were a kid, you were like, ooh! It's like I saw, I've told you my story about the movie Chud, right? Oh my God, the movie came out when I was 8 years old. I saw the posters. I was absolutely terrified. Never saw the film until probably like 5 or 6 years ago. And I was like, or maybe 10 years ago, I was like, there's nothing that is scary about the movie. Plus the hero is John Hurd, which, sorry, the dad from Home Alone, who was also the hero in Cat People, which is also not scary. But one of those like, oh my God, when you're a kid. So this is one of those like, you watch it through the lens of an adult who's never seen it before. And you're like, please make this go away. So final ratings, Todd, you first.
God, this is like a 3 out of 10. I'm definitely not satisfying. Nothing to redeem it. Sorry, folks.
I'm going to lock this down right with Black Adam, 2 out of 10. Just like,
so that's the thing. It's like when you take it like Black Adam 2 out of 10, this 2 out of 10, it's like, that's why I'm like context for ratings, right? Accordingly.
Context is King was the name of an episode of Discovery.
Because there were actors in Black Adam. There was no actors in this.
But in both films, there was no script.
There was a script, but it was just written by The Rock. There's the difference.
It was talking in circles. So anyway, Todd, that ends Shocktober Spooktember. So how do you think we did this year?
Wow. I think we need to up our game and actually maybe relook at the Rotten Tomato scores, because that would probably help us. The Witch was probably the standout. Yeah,
I would admit that is really where we shine in this. So the great news is that there's always next year, because the thing about Secret Friends is that we're never going away. We're going to be here until one of the two of us is dead. So
like the creator of Sleepaway Camp, who made 5 films. I just looked. Right. He made the same guy made 5 films. Charlie, he made four in a row. 2
sequels to this film.
Well, there's 2, 3, and 4 through 1992, and then fast forward to 2008, he made a return to Sleepaway Camp.
And I know that it was because I was looking in IMDb. It was the role of Angela was recast. To check it out. Look it up on IMDb.
Angela comes back. She's not done.
No, she turns up somewhere else under an assumed identity or whatever it is, and just
released from Crazy Place.
Yeah, I read the recap. Anyway, good. Todd, that is the end of the program. So, tell people where they can find you out there in the socials.
Yeah, follow me at Tioxtra. This is a down week for football for me, so I'll probably be just talking about the things I'm excited about in the world of Halloween and being spooky. So, got some more things that are coming out. We'll share those, and we've got some more exciting things coming to Secret Friends Unite. So check out at Secret Friends U and secretfriendsunite.com.
We're getting ever closer to the exciting things that we're talking about. You can find me over on Twitter at the C3, where I'm resharing memes and having fun, basically talking about geek stuff. My lovely wife and April and I run the USS Grand Petoskey. That is the largest chapter of the Star Trek International Fan Club in the state of Michigan. You can find us at the website of that same name and across socials of all of that stripe. I also do what I can to fill up our Secret Friends Unite Facebook feed with news and things that will spark exciting discussion. Todd, I'm doing my best to get more involved with the Discord. I'm not great at it, but I keep all I can do is keep trying. Yeah. So, and it's funny, as I sign up to Patreon, to some other podcasts and stuff, I get added to their Discord, so I'm trying to keep looking at it.
It's a lot, yeah.
So yeah, and
maybe that's a good point. Join our Discord. We have a lot of good discussions there. It's a great way to get back and forth versus Facebook. It just doesn't seem like there's as much dynamic conversation.
True, you're having a chance to interact with people. So all of those links you'll see in the show notes. So please jump down and join those up. So with that, friends, I'm going to tell you as always, thank you for joining us. Sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
Yo, Angela, don't kill me.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.